Good morning, investors. You are now on KleverStock with me, Ainun Jaria, serving you the latest morning bell updates. Kicking it off with the opening bell updates on our local market. The FPM KLCI opened marginally higher this morning before turning softer as overnight gains on Wall Street failed to provide strong follow-through for local sentiment. In the U.S., the Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 0.39% to 47,474.46. The S&P 500 gained 0.25% to 6,829.37, and the Nasdaq Composite climbed 0.59% to 23,413.67. At 9:19 a.m., the FPM KLCI slipped 1.13 points or 0.07% to 1,629.47 after opening slightly firmer at 1,631.46. Among actively traded names, Alliance advanced to 20 ringgit and 44 cents, Tenaga Nasional improved 13 ringgit and 2 cents, Petronas Gas climbed to 17 ringgit and 84 cents, and Hong Leong Bank edged higher to 21 ringgit and 26 cents. On the downside, Nestle fell to 117 ringgit and 80 cents, Petronas Dagangan eased to 20 ringgit and 26 cents, FNN declined to 36 ringgit, and Press Metals softened to 6 ringgit and 72 cents. Berjaya Research said the near-term outlook for the benchmark index remained cautious, noting that global uncertainties and uneven corporate earnings continued to temper risk appetite. The firm said market direction may remain choppy in the sessions ahead if investors expected to adopt a wait-and-see stance ahead of the key economic data releases and policy signals. It added that the absence of fresh domestic catalysts could limit near-term gains, and while the index has formed another bullish candlestick, the broader trend still appeared range-bound, with upside likely capped at 1,638 to 1,650 resistance levels. Rakuten Trade, meanwhile, said market undertone remained steady and projected the index to trade within the 1,630 to 1,640 range today. The ringgit also stayed firm at around 4.13, 4.50 cents against the US dollar. Moving on to local currency updates. The ringgit opened slightly stronger against US dollar this morning as traders moved cautiously ahead of the US Federal Open Market Committee meeting, where a highly anticipated US interest rate cut is expected. At 8 a.m., the ringgit improved to 4.1200 or 4.1300 against the greenback, compared with yesterday's close of 4.1275 or 4.1330. Bank Muamalat Chief Economist Dr. Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid said traders are staying on the sidelines as they await the Fed's decision. He noted that the US dollar index slipped 0.06% to 99.357, with the market pricing in more than 90% chance of an interest rate cut. Afzal Nizam added, today expect the ringgit to linger between 4.12 and 4.13 given the lack of fresh leads. Against major currencies, the ringgit also strengthened, rising to 5.4466 against the British pound, 4.7907 versus the euro, and 2.6451 against the Japanese yen. Regionally, the ringgit gained on the Singapore dollar at 3.1788 and the Thai baht at 12.8625, but eased slightly against the Indonesian rupiah at 247.8, while remaining little change against the Philippine peso at 7.04. Now for some local economic news. Malaysia's banking industry is set to offer goodwill discounts to borrowers who choose to settle their fixed-rate hire purchase loans early. This follows Dewan Negara's approval of the Hire Purchase Amendment Bill, paving the way for major changes to how interest on these loans is calculated. In a joint statement, the Association of Banks in Malaysia, the Association of Islamic Banking and Financial Institutions Malaysia, and the Association of Development Finance Institution of Malaysia said the discounts would apply to all existing fixed-rate hire purchase agreements, including those calculated under the long-criticized Rule of 78. The association said that this move was meant to ensure fairness for customers who entered into agreements prior to the HPA, adding that it would provide treatment comparable to that of new customers once the amended law comes into force. The Goodwill program will begin once the amended act takes effect. Expected in the first quarter of 2026, it will apply to individuals, micro enterprises and small businesses who signed fixed-rate hire purchase agreements using the Rule of 78 during the 18-month grace period and who choose to settle their loans before maturity. The banks will calculate the discount based on each borrower's existing loan features, including the timing of early settlement and the loan's rate structure, while the actual amount will vary by bank. Industry bodies stressed that the goal was to offer early settlement terms broadly comparable to those under the new law. They also encourage customers to visit the official bank website or contact their banks directly once the HPA takes effect for clarity on eligibility and application steps. Under the amended Hire Purchase Act, for future borrowers will no longer be charged front-load interest. Instead, interest will be calculated only on the outstanding loan balance, meaning interest payments will decline progressively as borrowers pay down their loans. Moving on to corporate news update. Celcom DG Maxis and YTL Power have been asked to purchase the government's shares in Digital Nasional Berhad after receiving a put option notice from the Minister of Finance Incorporated. In filings to Bursa Malaysia, Celcom DG and Maxis confirmed that MOF Inc. is requiring all three companies to buy its ordinary shares in DNB and assume the government's related loan obligations, including accrued interest and shareholder advances. Each investor shareholder will need to pay 327.87 million ringgit under the option terms. The companies have 2 months from the date of the notice issued on December 1st. To complete the transaction, Maxis said its broadband unit will acquire to stake on an equal basis, reflecting the shared ownership framework of DNB. Still on corporate news update. Fraser and Neave FNN Holdings is heading into next year with several positive catalysts expected to lift both earnings and its share price, according to CGS International Research. The research house says new product launches are set to begin early next year once FNN's Agri Valley Dairy facility in Gemas starts commercial production. Malaysia currently imports nearly 4.9 billion ringgit in dairy products, signalling significant room for locally produced substitutes. FNN is also targeting higher value segments such as butter. CGSI says losses from the group's dairy farm operations are expected to peak by the second quarter of 2026 before improving, likely triggering further earnings upgrades. The company is also forecast to generate 1.6 billion ringgit in free cash flow between financial year 2026 and financial year 2028, creating room for higher dividends from financial year 2027 onwards. CGSI has raised its dividend estimate and increased its target price for FNN to 41 ringgit and 60 cents per share, while maintaining an ad call. For its latest quarter, FNN's net profit surged 34.5% to 114.3 million ringgit, lifting full-year earnings to 508.5 million ringgit. Key risks include potential issues at the dairy farm, raw material cost pressures, and weaker consumer sentiment. Finally, wrapping up, we have major corporate developments and deals across Malaysia. Coastal contracts through wholly owned units, Coastal International Marine Inc. and Pleasant Engineering Sdn Bhd has secured contracts for the sale of 2 marine vessels for 187.6 million ringgit. Privasia Technology has kicked off the execution phase of its Perak data center project with a 569 569 million ringgit EPCC contract awarded to Inspur Communication Malaysia. Steelhawk has appointed former Petronas engineering leader Hafiz Hussain as its new group CEO, bringing over 16 years of project and construction experience to the role. Celcom, DG Maxis and YTL Power have been directed via a put option notice to acquire MOF Inc.'s stake in DNB and assume its loan obligations, with each to pay 327.87 million ringgit. Genting's Malaysia's indirect wholly owned subsidiary Genting New York LLC is among 3 selected by New York's Gaming Facility Locations Board on December 1st, 2025 for the full commercial casino license in downtown New York. Genting was chosen alongside New York Mets owner Steve Cohen and Bally's Corp for one of New York City's 3 available casino licenses. Now that's a wrap for Moneybell Updates with me, Anujarya on KleverStock. Thank you for choosing us investors. Stay tuned for the next live coming soon.